off the grid, and started working behind the scenes, writing this book, yada yada. Do you think that this could potentially be part of a larger slow drip disclosure to garner the public to essentially get them ready for something that's coming?
I don't know if it's an intentional thing to serve that purpose, but I think it will contribute to that. It doesn't feel like, some planned thing. Maybe it's planned between LUE and some of the people he's working with, but I don't think it's some big. I tend to shy away from the big conspiracy stuff with this, in the sense that I've heard it all, and I'm not really convinced that the government is that well organized.
I'm with
Smart.
you.
There's lots of smart people working for them, but the more complex a system is, the more challenging it is to manage, right? And
well, individuals are smart.
there's also, I think, a lot of stuff going on at kind of, energetic, subconscious levels collectively among humanity that, if this stuff, I think, is eventually meant to come out and to help us evolve as a species. Whether that's even looking at remote viewing, like, maybe that is meant to be a thing that helps people realize that, oh, hey, we can do psychic stuff. Like, that's real. Oh, hey, the universe is made of energy. That's crazy. Oh, wait, the quantum physicists are already saying all that. Oh, wait, I can tune into that energy with my mind. Holy, this is crazy. So that's kind of the short version of the journey I've been on over the last couple of years. But you get those realizations, and it changes your worldview as you dive into this topic and this information, and it shifts the way you behave, because how can it not? Like, it's not perfect, and it's a journey. Like, it's the journey of enlightenment, they call it. Like, it's that same thing that mystics have been doing for thousands of years. But remote viewing is just kind of the latest addition to that pile of things and of tools that people can use to go down those kind of spiritual paths. I think all of this is more of a spiritual thing than a nuts and bolts thing than most of us tend to give it credit for. Again, like the correlation between angels and aliens and stuff in the Bible and in deep history and art and ancient aliens and all that kind of stuff. I think it is sort of more of the UFO thing in general is more of sort of a story arc for humanity itself and where we've been, where we're going long term. I think that's maybe going to be part of where this goes, and that's, I think, consistent with like the Jacques Vallée type theory about this being interdimensional and non-physical and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. Yeah, all I know is that it's incredibly fascinating, and I'm glad I dove down the rabbit hole when I did. It feels like a pretty good time to learn remote viewing. We're at kind of the peak of chaos and uncertainty in society, at least as long as I can remember. And intuition, training remote viewing trains your intuition like a muscle. It's that's I think the biggest benefit of it. Whether you're using it for operational stuff to get detailed information about specific things, sorry, I think that's irrelevant to most people. Like, most of us aren't going to be trying to remote view, operational targets. On an individual level, though, by practice, it's going to help you develop your intuition and your inner bullshit detector. That's how I always describe it.
So I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, no worries.
The CIA arguably started, whatever, they tapped into this phenomena. Do you think that they have hardened their facilities some way against remote viewing it? Is there a way that you could hide from a remote viewer? Do you think, is that possible?
I mean, it all works on intention, right? So I think, you know, if you don't want somebody to know something enough, then they're not gonna, there's that psychic noise that you're gonna have to break through if you're trying to figure that thing out, right? Like
Right.
it's all intention and energy, and from what I can tell, it works best when your intentions are positive. You know, I think there's elements of karma involved. So if you're trying to use this stuff for shady shit, it's probably going to bite you in the ass.
Like getting rich.
Well, that's it.
Talk
Like
about that.
I've had very little success winning the lottery with this.
Right.
I know other
Right.
people. I know lots of people who've tried too, and it's like you see people will get little wins. I'll get 2 out of 3 on the pick 3 pretty regularly, and it's fun. It's a fun little thing to try. But you know, I don't think any. Again, that comes back to this ego stuff. Like it's so tied to psychology and the subconscious, and this idea of the ego versus the higher self. At least once you really get into remote viewing, that's the part of it that I think is the most interesting and that nobody's really talking about. Like, yeah, it's a cool skill. You can find specific information about non-local targets, but the way it seems to work is on this level of like quantum energy information transfer and deeply intertwined with psychology and neuroscience and the way the human mind operates, which we also don't know very much about, really. You know, we still don't have a definitive answer on what consciousness is. I think remote viewing does a lot to make the case that consciousness is not local to the physical brain. I think just based on the idea that we can consciously perceive stuff that is not specific to us and our current environment, I think it actually makes the case that consciousness is sort of an underlying, you know, piece of reality that is, you know, intertwines everything, you know, that everything is consciousness, that whole theory.
Well, isn't it weird that, okay, actually, you know what? I wasn't going to do this, but I wonder if I can. This is a picture of the it's a picture of the universe. These are all stars, right?
Wow.
Right? What if I showed you a picture of a close up of a beach? It would look exactly the fucking same. Exactly the same. Right?
Yeah.
Now, why is it that on a micro scale it resembles the macro and vice versa? Why is it like that? Why, you know, because then we get to it, and maybe I could play this little video for help. So you see what I'm saying? Like
as above, so below.
As above, so below. There we go. So why is it that? Could we be living in some sort of, or is consciousness just the universe's way of experiencing all reality all at the speed of now, right? At the speed of now, not the
Yeah.
speed of light, not the speed of sound, but the speed of now, right?
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think consciousness renders the hologram for us,
mm,
or our awareness, our body, our bodily systems render what consciousness is putting forward to us from this, fractal holographic, um, you know, root level of reality.
well,
It's too early for me to really get into the weeds on that stuff, I think. But there's a great book called On the Mechanics of Consciousness by a guy named Yitzhak Bentov. And it's like, it goes wicked deep into this stuff. And he's like, I don't think he's like a scientist. He's kind of
you
more
just
of an
sounded like you're from
intuitive.
Boston.
What's that?
You just sounded like you were from Boston.
Oh, did I?
You said wicked.
Oh yeah. I've wicked awesome, man.
Dude, I fucking parked my car over at the bar. Let's get some wicked good food, huh?
Nice.
But listen, I argue, you know the saying, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a noise? I
Yeah.
argue the tree, the woods, and nothing exists unless someone is observing it.
Yeah. Yeah, there is the whole quantum observer effect, which is interesting to think about. That within remote viewing, there's some discussion on that too. Like if we remote view the future, are we impacting the events that we're viewing just by viewing them? I think probably. I think that's likely. Which I think maybe is, perhaps and this is like this, I'm going way out there on this one, but if somebody reviews remote views a future event, like a catastrophic event, and then that doesn't happen, it doesn't transpire, did that viewing of it and being like, oh, that's terrible, I don't want that to happen, does that somehow cause it not to happen? I
Right.
wonder if some of these things, because you get a lot, you see a lot of in the kind of future forecasting type remote viewing that people do. Either events that are kind of big and scary don't happen, or they end up being a lot less intense. And I think the intensity part is maybe that the viewer is kind of experiencing it directly. So, a bomb going off somewhere in the world is going to be a lot more scary to the people that are near to that event and experiencing it directly than somebody on the other side of the world who's watching it on the news, right? So
Right.
maybe part of it is that, because when you are remote viewing, you're perceiving kind of the specific on the ground details and things that are happening.
Can
But
I ask you a question?
there's so many mysteries about this stuff, man.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you remote view, say you did remote view something like Hiroshima, can you feel emotion?
Yes, I have a buddy who did that session.
No
That was
fucking
what he did. He did Hiroshima as one of his early targets, and it fucked him right up. Like, just, it was a
Oh
really
God.
unpleasant. One of my early targets I did was a disaster type target, and it was, I saw people's like skin melting off. Like, it was fucked. It was not good. And so that's the thing you got to be careful about too. And that's when I train people, I don't give them targets that are gonna have that kind of effect on people. Like if you're doing military targets, like that's the kind of stuff that the Stargate and
That you're gonna see.
preceding programs, like they were doing military targets, so they were getting some gritty stuff. And you got to have a fairly powerful mind to not let that affect you. So it's important to have like energetic protection when you're doing remote viewing, and to kind of separate yourself a little bit and be cognizant of when you are emotionally resonating with stuff, because emotional resonance is a big part of remote viewing. Like that's a lot of how you get. I think it's more that than anything, and it's more that we're kind of interpreting the emotions. I think all the information actually kind of comes in through the heart portal, like the heart chakra, to get weird and esoteric about it. But and then the mind kind of deciphers that more emotional information, and there is research to support that too. The Institute of Heart Math has done a lot of good stuff on intuition and